I have to spend 100 days in oxygen not included. There is only one goal I need to accomplish. Don't lose any dupes. Will I be able to survive this harrowing journey? Let's find out. And so it began with these three dupes. Mimi, Sleek and Zendrama, and our colony, the optimistic Pigpen. What could go wrong? So after selecting my dupes and landing on my meteor, I decided to scope it around and take a look at the surroundings, and I queued up a few dig commands so that our dupes could start digging and expand the base a little bit, as we were going to need some more space. I built a ladder and a water pump down to the water source, and I also built some toilets so that they had a place to poo. I then also built some cots for them so that they had a place to sleep and didn't have to sleep on the cold hard floor. Thankfully the toilets were built and we decided to use our prying eyes and watch them do their business, because who doesn't enjoy being watched while they're shitting on the crapper? It was the first night and they didn't get any sleep thanks to the light bug flying around. The next morning I queued up a bunch more dig commands. I was trying to scope out and set up the base how I wanted it. I also chucked down some power sources and a research station, as that is how we were going to progress, by learning new technologies. I also queued up a bunch more dig commands and just let them dig for the rest of the day until the research table was built and they begun the research. We got into the advanced research tab and started researching that, and then I started expanding upwards to try and get to these oxygen pockets as well as all of these extra water sources. We got our first supply pot and it was some coal, and then I queued up some more research. It was then time to start building the foundations for the base. The way I like building these bases is by utilizing a 5 space in between each tile and making these tiles 16 blocks long. So that would give us plenty of space and plenty of room to make the rooms. So I decided to set that up around the base. I also figured out where I was going to store all my water, as that is the best way to go about doing this, consolidating all your water in one area. So I finally got the super research computer and we placed that down and hooked it up to our power. I also put in a extra large battery so that we had extra storage capacity for the power. Queued up some more research and then began once again expanding while the dupes were sleeping. We did manage to get our first skill points, so our dupes did get a couple of hats and they were looking cute as. We then also got another supply drop and we picked some pip eggs. I chucked an oxygen diffuser down so we could produce some more oxygen and continued working on the holding pen for all my water. I also used the tempered tiles, so this would keep the temperature nice and cool from the surrounding hot areas. I wanted to get this done as soon as possible so that the hot temperature didn't eventually leak itself into our base. When I was building the pond holder, that's a new one, and unfortunately broke a sand block, so the water started cascading while my dupes were digging and building up. So we did lose a little bit of water, but not a crazy amount in the grand scheme of things. However, it was going to be very difficult to get this water back. Thankfully, none of our dupes did drown in the process, but you can see here this pocket just fills up massively. So I had to queue up an urgent response so that they could go ahead and finish this ASAP, because I didn't want to lose any more water. And if it did start to flood, it would slowly make its way up the ladder and we would lose more and more water. Thankfully, the dupes were able to finish it off in record timing, and it was then time to build the right side of the water holding pen. Unfortunately though, one of our dupes was trapped. Mini and Zendrama and Sleek were trapped. They had no way to get out from there. You can see there, they were stuck on the ladder system, so we had to deconstruct a block so that they could get through. Thankfully, no one died. I then spent the next morning getting ready to set up the farming area, as we were going to need a lot of food to feed our duplicants. So my goal here was to build up the tiles and then replace those tiles with the farm tiles so that we could grow our own mealwood. Here we go. Water's about to burst. There we go. So hopefully we have enough of this that we can fit all that water in there. Go for it, fellas. Let's get in there. And now Mini's stuck. Well, that's great. Mini, you just get yourself out of there, please. So after getting that water in there, I realized I was going to need to expand this a little bit more because we still had another water pocket higher up. So I increased it by another foundation block wide, so 6 blocks. And then I finally planted all the mealwood so we could get started on growing our own food, as we were starting to run out with only 4,000 calories of food left. And then we got the next batch of water sent down into the pond, and this even filled it up so much. We just had so much water, which isn't a bad thing because you do need water for a lot of things in this game. So it was great to have. You need it to power your machines, your oxygen diffusers, and all that sort of stuff as well. So thankfully we were getting a bunch of it, and it was all ending up in this pool together. Thankfully I did also get a bunch of muck root, so we had plenty of cal. And we also got some new skill points. So Sleek can now get critter ranching, which is perfect. Minnie can also get improved construction. Wonderful. And then it was time for the final pocket of fresh water to join its brethren down below. Now this one was a little bit more trickier. There was a lot more logistics involved. We had to carve out hills and stuff like that for the water to flow down. But thankfully it did start flowing down there rather effectively. And then I could get to work on building up the rooms that I needed for my base. Now, with all the water consolidated, I placed a pitcher pump and a bottle emptier so that we could empty all our water. I also built up some more farm tiles so we could grow some more food. And I set up the duplicants' cots in a room so that they would start to get a buff bonus to their morale, so that they wouldn't get depressed and sad about living inside of a meteor. Now this room had airflow tiles as well as standard tiles so that plenty of air could go through and that they wouldn't suffocate in their own carbon dioxide that they would output, which is always helpful to have. And just like that, I had built them a mess hall as well as a barracks room so that they would get that morale bonus. This is how you pretty much get by in this game. By building these particular rooms, you're able to provide your dupes extra stress relievers so that they can also learn extra skill points as well. The next day I wanted to enclose the base so that none of the hot temperature from the outside started seeping in. So I started working on that and harvested up my first lot of mealwood, and I found my first geyser, a cool steam vent. I also dug out all this copper because I was going to need some metal, and it was finally time to get into critter ranching. Now, critter ranching is essentially taming up the critters located around the meteor and using them for their resources. So I wanted to get some hatchlings so that they could produce some refined metal for me, as this was easier than using a big metal processor. So I started setting up the room for everyone, and I took Zendrama off her resting routine because she was a little bit stressed. She needed to chill out for a little bit. Okay, so we've got the first set of thingy set up. So what I need to do now is I need to find some hatches. So I'm pretty sure there should be some in here. We're going to find out in just a second when they go ahead and dig it up, and then we're going to wrangle them. We've also got an egg here, which I think we're going to possibly put in the end here and incubate it. We'll see how we go. But one of these should be a hatch. Hopefully. None of them were a hatch. Okay, cool. That's one. That's exactly what we wanted. Eventually, I did find a hatch, and I was able to wrangle that up and bring it to the ranch farm. So after wrangling them up and taking them into the dedicated area, as this is the only place where you can farm them, I needed to place a block so that they didn't escape. And what happens? Both of them literally escape. So I had to re-wrangle them and put them back into that area. Thankfully, it wasn't too difficult, as there is only the one critter ranch drop-off area. So all it literally is just them picking them up, wrangling them, and then taking them back to that spot. So the goal here was to get sage hatchlings, and to get sage hatchlings, you need to feed them certain resources so that their egg laying percentages go up. So you can see here, I did have a select few resources ticked so that they would eat that particular resource, and then we could make our way to the sage hatchlings. But I first off had to get stone hatchlings, which was the prerequisite. Now I also continued digging out this way to try and shut off the base. The base was going to be rather large, and I just wanted to make sure that I had enough time to set the temperature tiles all around the base, as this would once again stop the heat from leaking into our base and potentially microwaving all of our dupes. Microwaving dupes and people and living things is a bad thing. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I also got some more animal control research and some more farm area research going on. It was then finally time to pick up my first extra duplicate. We had been running with 3 for the whole time, but we decided to get an extra construction one, as this guy was going to help us build everything, and we of course named him after one of our Patreons. So he's going to get to work constructing everything, which is great. Now I'd also domesticated our first hatchlings, and they had produced their egg. Now once they're domesticated, it does take a little bit of time. However, they start to produce eggs a lot quicker, and you can see our percentage chances for getting specific types of eggs. So we did want to try and get the stone hatchling eggs because they would lead us into the particular type of hatchling we wanted for the refined metal. I then built a proper bathroom for our duplicates, complete with actual plumbing this time instead of an outhouse that was manually scooped out. No one wants to scoop out a house. So this had been a while since I had built a bathroom in Oxygen Not Included. So it needed 3 toilets and 3 sinks. That way we could have 3 dupes using the toilet at the same time, and they could also wash their hands at the same time, meaning we would limit the risk of germs spreading through the base. Now I also got some extra skill points for our dupes, so we chucked them into their loved skills. So we got extra hard digging, we got a bunch of building stuff as well, so we could upgrade all of that. Now I started linking up the power to the liquid pump that I had deposited in the bottom of our little water reservoir, and I needed to hook up that plumbing into our bathroom so that there was fresh water coming in and fresh water coming out. Now I also built a water sieve. Now the water sieve essentially turns that polluted water that gets used from the toilets back into normal water. It does produce a small amount of waste, however, and it also produces, it doesn't really fully clean the water of all the germs. So there's still a little bit of germs in the water source, but as long as it's really being used by the bathroom and the dupes are washing their hands as they go through, it's not really too much of an issue. So I connected all of the plumbing up and hooked all of that up to the water sieve. Now that was all that remaining was to pretty much test this. Now I also had to loop the water sieve pipeline back into the main source of water, which you can see here I was doing. So it's all very technical. It was then time for a new dupe. So Liam, he had cooking and supplying, which was really good. We needed a cooker as we hadn't been able to produce any proper food. All our dupes had been eating mealwood, which is super depressing. You don't want to be eating grubs for your entire lifetime. So we changed Liam's name as well to one of our patrons. So Swordswiper was now ready to join the crew of duplicants, and he was going to be our personal chef. We're going to give him grilling so that he can start cooking for us. I just have to get the cooking station set up. So I'm thinking of putting the kitchen just underneath here, and then that way the dupes don't have that far to travel to the mess hall. We're also trying to get this pump system online, which they should be getting up to now. Guys, hold your breath. Come on, what are you doing? Just hold your breath and do it all. We don't care about the hypothermia, just get it done. You only got 5% strength, you're fine. You can hold your breath for that long. We are slowly, it looks like we are slowly going through the water, but not like at a crazy pace. We're also just going to get this set up as well. And that looks like it's going to work out great. So we're just going to dig all that out anyway. Now I was going to build up an electrical grid, however for that I needed a bunch of metal ore. So for that what I needed to do was get a rock crusher built. So I built that and got it powered and started getting some more of the refined ore. I think we just go with the Pacu, to be completely honest. I think that's our better option. I'm going to let them flop around for a bit. I could let them drop into the water actually. If I deconstruct that, they should flop straight down into the water there. So for my power grid, I was going to need the smart batteries and I needed refined metal. So I positioned one of our dupes onto the rock crusher and the Pacu managed to get into the water a-okay. Now that I had gotten some refined metal, I could start working on my power grid. Now my power grid was going to be on the left side of my base and it was going to use these smart batteries and some automation. So essentially the coal generator was going to pump the smart battery full of charge, and then this transformer was going to allow us to provide electricity to the entirety of the base along that level. I also wanted to make a nature reserve, and for that I had some pips set up on this little natural land tiles and I had them planting some seeds as they grew up. Now the power grid was coming along nicely. You can see there the smart battery was getting charge from the coal generator. So essentially I had it set that if the battery ever dropped below 90%, the coal generator would kick in, recharge that battery, and so on and so forth. Now eventually this would be fully automated for the coal to get delivered from those storage boxes into the generators, but that was still a little while off. Okay, power is up and running more or less. So we've got the water sieve online now. So that's going to be pumping all this water back into this. Once this water runs out as well, it should all be coming in. The only issue I can see us having is it's potentially going to need to get emptied because I haven't put in any extra storage for it. But that should be okay. So we've got power lines going here. You can see these are running across. This one actually can probably just run the whole length around this way. And then what we're going to do is in here, we're also going to build another one of these coal generators. I should ideally go higher, but I think 3 of these should be enough for the time being. So we'll see how we go. And we're going to enclose these rooms and all the carbon should go to the bottom. And then what we'll do down here is we'll set up a carbon skipper. That'll get rid of all our carbon for us as well, which will be great. So I enclosed the rooms in temperature insulating tiles, as these rooms were going to get very hot and I didn't want that leaking out into the base. Awesome, we just got a siege hatchling egg as well. I don't know if you can see it. There it is there. So this guy is going to turn into this. We had a 2% chance of getting that egg and we got it. So these guys are actually better than the standard hatch because they just eat dirt. So they eat dirt and they produce, well, they eat dirt, they eat slime as well, which is really good because we are going to need to clear out the slime biome, as well as that polluted dirt as well is also what they eat. So we're going to be great. It's going to be great for doing that as well. And in here, I believe we should be able to get a nature park now because we do have some seeds and plants planted. Let me just take a quick look at the room overlay. Where is it? Nature Reserve. Nature Reserve, we need 4 wild plants. So I think we've got 2. There's 3, 4. So there is 4 plants in here. It was then time to enclose the base in temperature insulating tiles to prevent any extra heat coming into the base. Oh, we just let a bunch of polluted oxygen in. That should be fine. We'll just chuck some deodorizers down eventually. You need a bit of power. Now, I did also get some lava eggs, and these guys were about to hatch. I had kind of forgotten about them. Now, these guys produce oil, and I did want to try and ranch them a little bit. However, fate had different things in mind. The slicksters, I don't think I really need them all that much. So I think I'm just going to eliminate them. Is this all reachable? I'm hoping we can get these guys set up here. I'm going to wait and see the slicksters. I mean, they will get rid of some of the carbon dioxide for us, but other than that, I don't think we really need them all that much. Alrighty guys, our slickster larvas have hatched. Look at these little guys. They're super cute. So these guys eventually lay... This is what they turn into. And then I'm pretty sure you can get, yeah, long hair slicksters. Consume oxygen and thrive in close contact with duplicate companions. So these guys give a little bit of a... I think it's like a moral buff. And then you get the molten slicksters as well. But honestly, I don't think we really need them. So I don't think they're even getting rid of any of our CO2 because I don't think we really have any. So I'm thinking we just kill them for their meat, which I know is a little bit morbid, but you got to do what you got to do. So let's eliminate those guys. I'm sorry, guys. You're cute and all, but we need your meat. It's going to fuel our colony a little bit longer. The optimistic pink pen has to stay running. Now, I was having issues with the bathroom block. It wasn't functioning properly because there was this backup of fresh water. So I had to build this liquid vent so that the water could escape and that would drip back into our water supply down below. So hopefully that would limit the amount of excess water that we had coming into the system, because you can see there it wasn't going to work when the water was backed up. I also built an egg incubator so that I could start incubating some of these hatchling eggs and that we could get closer to the smooth hatchling that I needed. You can see here our bathroom was still backed up, so I needed to figure out a solution to try and fix this. I wanted to make sure, however, that the polluted water didn't get into our water source, so I built these blocks to prevent the polluted water or anything that would leak coming into it. And thankfully I did it at the exact right time, because one of our duplicates pissed everywhere and there was just polluted water everywhere. You can see it dripping down the side there, bubbling away, because our toilets were out of action due to the fact that we were having this plumbing issue. So I cleaned up all of the pee. Everyone just decided to pee their pants a little bit. It wasn't a fun time. And then I eventually built a fertilizer synthesizer, which would convert some of the polluted water into fertilizer, essentially. I also got the grilling section of the base up and running with a grilling station and a refrigerator, so we could now cook food for our duplicates. Even though we had a bunch of calories available to us, cooking higher tier meals would provide them with a morale bonus. And I finally got the nature reserve up and running, which once again would provide a +6 morale to our duplicates, which would make them happy and stress less. Stress is the #1 killer on the worksite. Now, the polluted water situation wasn't looking too good. You can see here our dupes were coming in and still managing to use the bathrooms, thankfully. However, there was only one operating bathroom at the time. It was then time to build another critter station so that I could get more of the critters going, so that I could most slowly work my way towards those smooth hatchlings and get that refined metal, as these guys were probably the best way to go about getting refined resources. Also built a fire pole, and then I finally had enough and built a liquid storage for the polluted water, and I deconstructed the fertilizer synthesizer. Now with that built and the polluted water all dripping over the toilets, hopefully our dupes would be able to use the bathroom now. And I was just very glad that I had built those extra 2 blocks on each side, because that polluted water definitely would have gotten into our fresh water system, and that would have made things very messy. You don't want polluted water getting into your fresh water system. So after fixing up the toilet block, everything was now running nice and smooth. We were getting oxygen all through the base, and I also built some deodorizers to get rid of some of that polluted oxygen at the top of the base. It was then time to spruce up the decor of the base. You can see all the red negative decor. You kind of want to avoid that. You want it as happy of a place as possibly can be. These guys live here, they work here, they sleep here, they eat here. So you want to make sure that everything is nice and green for them. So I built a couple of little molding things to try and add some extra niceties around their sleeping quarters. And I was eventually going to build some sculpting blocks as well, so that these could get sculpted and provide a decor bonus in their rooms. Now eventually, if this series went on long enough and I did a 200-300 days series, they would get their own individual rooms with their own fancy beds and everything like that. But because we're in sort of the very early game, that's not the case. I then also went ahead and got a decorating dupe, thankfully. That was really lucky. So she got to work on sculpting all of these blocks, and they were a little bit rough. Not gonna lie, they were a little bit rough. I then also went ahead and started expanding on the right side of the base. This area hadn't been completely insulated yet in terms of temperature. But first off, I wanted to build an area for us to be able to store our polluted water, as it does have its uses later down the line. We can convert it into fresh water and a bunch of other things. While they were building that section as well, they were installing more of the temperature resistant blocks in the base, and I dug out the area. I also started digging into the slime biome on the left side of the map and started insulating the bottom right hand corner of the base area. Now that the polluted water area had been built, I set the bottle emptier to polluted water, so any bottled up polluted water around the base that the dupes had mopped up or anything like that would get deposited into this area and slowly pool up. Now it would also produce polluted oxygen, but we could fix that with a deodorizer located just above here, which is exactly what we did. However, some of our dupes did have slime lung from digging into the slime biome. It's not too bad of a disease, but it is a disease nonetheless. And you can see here are the deodorizers. So our base was looking pretty solid. I was pretty happy with how everything was coming along. I finished building up the insulated tiles across the top of the base. Once this was built, you can see there everything was going to be nice and enclosed, and we should be safe from all the external elements outside of these areas, hopefully. Although something drastic could go wrong and we could find ourselves extremely suffering, I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. Now I then wanted to try and set up automation for the generators. However, the temperature of our top generator was getting a little bit warm. You could see there that it was all red and green. Red being hotter, obviously. I then wanted to try and clean up the base a little bit as it was very messy, so I set a sweep command trying to collect everything here. Alright guys, we finally got a stone hatchling egg. Hallelujah. So now with the stone hatchlings, we can finally get some good things. We've got this guy incubating. How much further has he got left to go? 55%. We're going to remove it. We're going to incubate this hatchling right away. Let's go. Incubate that stone hatchling, because if I remember correctly, let's just take a quick look here. Hatches. And we go into stone hatches. Stone hatches are going to give us access to the smooth hatches, which will enable us to get pure metal. So you can see here are the stone hatches. This is what that egg is going to turn into. They excrete solid coal, which is great. We're going to get an unlimited amount of coal. And then from the stone hatches, you can actually get the smooth hatches, which enable you to get refined metal from feeding them metal ore. So these guys are great. We really need to get our hands on some of these, because you can see here, so if we feed it copper ore, we get, feed it 100 kilos, we get 75 kilos per cycle, which is 25% better than the rock crusher down here. We've still got probably a little bit while before we get into refined metal in the oil biome. So that's still got a while to go, but right now I think we're looking pretty good. We've got the nature reserve, which gives us +6 morale as well, which is great for our dupes. And then we've also got the mess hall, the barracks, and the washroom. So that's looking all dope as well. We're slowly encapsulating the base in temperature tiles. to prevent any extra temperature coming in. And then I'm going to make a bunch of liquid locks so that we can start going out this way and start exploring. We've got some chlorine there. There is a geyser just here as well. I can't remember what geyser it was. Is this the saltwater one? This is the saltwater geyser. So we're eventually going to get to that as well and turn that brine into pure water. Not sure how we'll go about doing it, if we'll build a lock down here and go down, or if we'll just come out here and go down like that. I need to build a liquid lock here. I don't like manual airlocks. They don't work very well, unfortunately. Alrighty guys, and we've just gone ahead and made ourselves a liquid lock. Now, our dupes will get wet walking through it, but it should be okay. Why have you got so much slime on? Ugh. So it was a bit of a tedious process, but we managed to do it pretty easily. We're going to just mop all that up. We're going to deconstruct that for the time being, but I think liquid airlocks are probably the best way to go about making sure that there's no air between anything, because let's just watch them. They should go through here to deconstruct it. I'm just not sure if it'll keep the temperature out, right? It should, right? I am imagining it would. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to set a command to just dig in here and let's see what happens. Yeah, they didn't even get the sopping wet. Oh, maybe they did. Possible that they got it from somewhere else as well, though. And she didn't look like she was... I don't know. It didn't look like she was affected by it that much. So hopefully this liquid airlock works out well. We're going to dig out all of this, and this is going to be another ranching for our stone hatches. And we also got a new printable. Let's take a look at what we got. Some brine. Now we get the brine. Bloody hell. We got 8 strength, increased excavation, and construction. That's not too bad. I'd rather take the brine though, to be honest. Now, after digging for a while, I finally hit the snow biome on the left side of the base. So now we had a cooling area, which if we pumped anything through, would actually cool that, and it could come back in the base and actually cool us down. So I wanted to get into there. We needed super hard digging, which is a tier 3 skill, to get through that abyssalite. Thankfully, we did have a duplicate up to the task of doing so. I also built some tiles here so that the pressure from the water wouldn't break and eventually screw us over by flooding the area with polluted water. I also built some ladders up to the ice biome so I had access to it, and I built ladders going down so that I could start digging over there. Alrighty guys, it looks like our self-powering oxygen machine maker thingamajiggy doodad is just about to come online. So we're just getting everyone out. They're finishing up the cabling, and then by the time they finish up the cabling, that should be enabling it to go. I believe the piping is all hooked up. Yep, they're hooked up with piping. As for the gas, we can see it just there sticking out. What we're going to do is I'm going to chuck a gas vent just there to make sure that it's working, but it should all be working. So what's going to happen is these gas pumps are going to pump the oxygen out. The electrolyzers are going to create hydrogen and oxygen. Now, the only concern I have is that there is a lot of natural gas in here, so this is going to need to get pumped out. And my big concern is that we're going to get natural gas and hydrogen coming out of the top here. Let's just take a look at our ventilation overlay. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of natural gas in here. Okay, we need a, you know what, let's just... We need to get rid of this carbon dioxide, and our pump isn't pumping it because obviously there's... We need to just get rid of that. Okay, reason it's not thinking is because this bad boy hasn't been bloody built yet. We're going to suffer a little bit of damage from this, but that should be okay. We're also going to set this to 95 and 5, and that should fix that. What has it got in here? Can it only store one? Contents oxygen and hydrogen. Okay, we're going to suffer a little bit of damage here. And we're also just going to pump out carbon and natural gas back out, but that's fine. This should eventually all turn into oxygen. Yep. It's looking like it is all oxygen. The only thing now is this should stabilize and turn into hydrogen in this little area. Hopefully soon enough. Yep, it's starting to fill up. There we go. We need these 2 squares down here to be hydrogen. Once they're hydrogen, we should be in the clear. Oh man, finally. Oh, now we're just all oxygen. Oh, and we've got dupes coming in, screwing everything up. A hydrogen generator also isn't really pumping anything because obviously the power output is full. Because actually that's also a good point. Now that we've got that up and running, let's deconstruct this so that it runs all on that. And then that's itself powered. I just need to get this hydrogen over here. We've still got a little bit of natural gas and CO2, but it's also probably because our dupes keep walking in and out. Surely we don't have that much stuff in here that's worth coming into. I should have swept it out first, but what I'm going to do is we're going to just lock that. So that hopefully they stay out and this equilibrates. Is that the right word? I don't know. We've got a pipe block situation here. Let's take a look. Oh no, there it goes. Okay, it's just pumping out the... It's pumping out quite a bit of oxygen. How much oxygen have we got in here? 26 kilos. We've only got 9 kilos of hydrogen. Still got a little bit of hydrogen coming in. I might need to chuck a filter on. Because there's still a little bit of hydrogen, oxygen getting in there somehow. But this, yep, there we go. We got, beautiful. That's it. So that's set now, so we shouldn't get any more oxygen in these pipes. Shouldn't being the keyword. So this should produce us more than enough oxygen for what we need. Let's take a look here. Yeah, there's our oxygen overlay. That should be more than enough oxygen. Let's deconstruct that. Also got another printing pod. Saltwater, hatchling, digging an early bird, creativity. You're actually not too bad. I'm just going to take the salt. Actually, digging might be good because we are... You know what? I'm going to take this guy because digging's actually really good because now we're at that stage where we can go ahead and start excavating all the biomes pretty much. So we'll take Travaldo, except it's not really Travaldo. It's going to be Mark. Mark it is. Let's go Mark. There we go. Boom. Select Mark. Print him out. There we go. We've got plenty of food and everything, so that shouldn't be an issue. Mark, you can sit on... Actually, you know what? Let's make a new schedule. Just what we're going to do, we're going to get him to work all of this. He's going to have bath time here. Actually, he's going to have bath time here. He's going to have downtime here. I'll give him an extra slot of bath time just in case. And then he's going to have an extra bedtime there. That way he will get that morning buff. There we go. So he's set there. These guys look like they're all good. It looks like our system is working. Obviously, the only downside is that we have quite a lot of oxygen still in here, but now it's full of hydrogen and only hydrogen. So that's absolutely perfect. Hopefully the dupes don't need to go in here for anything. Otherwise, we're going to be having issues with oxygen coming in from outside, I believe. But this should all be able to get sealed up, I believe. How hot is the temperature of the... trying to figure out how hot. 31 degrees, 32 degrees. What's the temperature of our base? A nice cool 23 degrees. I don't have any wheeze words. So I'm happy to leave that for now. We should have enough oxygen because all of this will eventually move over here and that should be enough. What I want to do now is I need to get this automation up and running. We also need to go digging for more gold. We don't have a lot of gold. We don't have any metal. I'm surprised at how much metal we've gone through. And I also kind of want to just dig straight up, going through and seeing what's further up. So I think we might do that. Let's set that order in there. And then what I'll also do is we'll dig that. replace that, and then we're also going to put a manual airlock just there. So let's deconstruct those two and get that up. We're just going to keep putting these up, I reckon. We're just going to go higher and higher. See what awaits us at the top there. Yeah, I can't believe how little metal we have. It's kind of nuts. All right, so this is all getting dug up. Alrighty, guys, and we found... Ooh. We found a little hideaway place here, so we're going to break through. I can definitely break down these ladders as well for plastic. Inspect the computer disk. After searching, I managed to piece together some files that piqued my interest. Alright, so we got some new law stuff. I definitely want to rummage through that and inspect that, and okay. We're also going to break down that comfy bed for sure. Once we get up the top there and take a proper look. Hopefully we can get up there soon. Looks like William's going up the top there to scout out what we got going on. I also just want to dig these up so that we can get rid of the items that are on it. There we go. Go, William, go. And yeah, we should be able to break down the bed, the locker, the ladder even, for all the plastic. It looks like we've got the ice biome up here as well. And things are looking great. Yeah, so I wanted that to fall down so we can sweep this out, because this is going to be used for the Drecos. We're going to be Dreco farming up here. Let's do this so that they can reach it. Yeah, Mark's the happy one. Look at Mark. We got a warm sweater. We're going to give that to Mark. Mark's very happy at the moment. I think he'll benefit greatly from that. Bro, keep... What do you mean? Go back and deconstruct the bloody bed. Okay, these guys are going well doing all of this. That's the last little bit there. Alright, perfect. Let's do that. We've got our stable. We've got our stable. 57, 53. And we've got our Drecos getting sheared. So you can see here we've got some reed fiber. I'm not entirely sure how much that actually makes, but I do need to fill this room with hydrogen if I want my Drecos to continue producing, because they won't produce anything in, you can see they're 0% per cycle. They don't produce anything in oxygen-based environments, so we need to try and get some hydrogen in there, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about doing it. I think I might just try and pump some of this. Beautiful, guys. We also just got ourselves a smooth hatchling egg. That is exactly what we have been after. That is awesome. Let's incubate that bad boy up. That is going to provide us with some refined metal once we feed it metal. Cycle's not too bad. It took us a while to get our ranches online and up and running, but we finally got there. So we're going to keep these stone hatches, keep going. I'm probably going to phase out these regular hatches because the stone hatches are better. Same for the sage hatches because they eat the slime and algae and stuff like that. Sorry, polluted slime is what they eat. We don't want to feed them algae. So I'm happy about that. Let's take a look at this oxygen real quick. What do we got? Nutrient bar, cuisine, agriculture and construction, mechatronics engineering. Bro. Honestly, just for that, I'm going to take him. I've been trying to level up our dupes into mechatronics engineering for so long. Alrighty guys, I somehow managed to figure out how to get the auto sweeps to work, which is great. Now I just have to try and duplicate that. We finally got the exosuit forge made up. So now we can go ahead and make some suits out of copper. We can't actually make it out of gold. Okay, that's fine. We'll make one. And then I'm going to need to turn some iron ore into iron, I think, by the looks of things. I can't wait till we get our hatchling up and running, because then we'll be producing probably quite a lot more. Quite a lot more of that, I would say. Can I not go through here because I need a... Huh. Because I need to wear a suit, I'm assuming. So it turns out my hydrogen self-powered oxygen machine was actually producing way too much hydrogen. So I needed an outlet in order to get rid of some of this. These gas tank reservoirs was already full. So I figured, well, I'm gonna probably need to build another one of these. I also could have probably used this to build another electrical circuit on this side of the base. Considering how much hydrogen we were producing, we could easily have turned that into power. But I did build another gas tank reservoir so that we had extra hydrogen going into that. So hopefully that would save us for a little bit longer. Our smooth hatchling had also hatched, and we were building our new facility for some Drecklets, because we wanted to farm some Drecos so that we could get their reed fiber so that we could make the Atmos suits and eventually get into plastics. And I also dug out into the slime biome on the right hand side of the map. We hadn't actually explored too much on this side because we had been spending all the time pretty much just making sure that the base was all insulated and nice. We did have the Atmos suits here, however we didn't actually have the Atmos suits made. We just had the Atmos suit dock. So that reed fiber that we harvested from the Drecos was going to be used to make the Atmos suits. And I didn't really want to bring a lot of slime lung back into the base, which is why I built that Atmos suit dock there. So hopefully our dupes will put them on, but I didn't realize that they were empty. So we did send dupes out there without the suits, and they kind of brought back slime lung into the base, which is not exactly what you want to happen. I think once they build that door though, it should be fine. So that's an 8. What's going on up here? Have we reached space yet? Space is just up here. We've found the regolith, so we now have access to space as well, which is actually pretty cool. Where are you going, Steve? You ran all that way for 81 kilos of iron ore? Are you insane, dude? What the hell? Look at this mess down here. Perfect. 96 tiles. How big are these? They're 53. I'm kind of thinking we could have just probably Alright, this little dude should be happy here. He's got plenty of space. Well, I mean, his room has plenty of space. He doesn't have plenty of space. He's just going to suffer. So after getting the Atmos suits to the docks, someone was doing a runner with them. They weren't getting put back in their dock, and I had no idea why. They were just running around with them in the base, which kind of defeats the purpose because they can get diseased and everything like that, and we don't want that. We also selected the barbecue for extra food for the base, and then I figured out how they were getting through with the Atmos suits. So I did build another dock, however, idiot me didn't realize that they weren't actually going past the dock with the Atmos suits. That's when I noticed they were climbing up the ladder right at the entrance there. So I had to build a block in order to prevent them from actually using the Atmos suits around the base, and this would allow them to take the Atmos suits off before coming back inside of the base. Our smooth hatch was raising up nicely. It was consuming some metal, so we were getting some refined metal in return from this little dude, thankfully. We just needed to breed up more of them so that we could get more of that refined metal coming into the base, because we were at that stage where we were going to need a butt ton of it. I then wanted to try and increase the decor around the base, so I built another barracks room above the original barracks room, and I chucked some sculpting blocks into the barracks rooms to try and raise the decor a little bit. You can see below it was all green and nice, and we brought our sculptor along to sculpt some blocks, but I wasn't really too happy with them. I thought she would be producing like much better sculptures, and I'm not sure why, because we had like maximum decorating skill points in her. So I was like, that's a bit confusing. I don't understand. We gave her a hat, and then I realized that there are actually larger sculpting blocks that we could have used. Our smooth hatchling was going great. It was producing that refined copper. You can see there a big lub of it after it pooped it out. So that was doing great. And we did have another egg in the incubator as well. Then I realized there are large sculpting blocks. So I got those down instead, as they would provide a larger decor rating. And they would also look a lot better than the smaller ones. The only downside was I had to deconstruct all of the original ones first, and then reconstruct all of these. So it was a bit of a time-consuming process, unfortunately, but I mean, if it provides extra decor to our dudes, it makes them less depressed, which makes them work more. Overload 101. I then wanted to seal off this left side of the base, as this was where our power grid was, and it was kind of heating up the base a little bit too much for my liking, so I wanted to run a pillar down, which is what I did, and I had successfully set up automation for the cooking area. So every time Sword would cook something, it would get slotted into the refrigerator, which would save our dupes a massive amount of time of transferring everything from the grilling station into the refrigerator. So Sword could literally just cook forever, and everything would just transfer straight into the refrigerator for our dupes. The only thing they would need to do is come along and gather it when they were hungry and eat it. So that was literally it, the best part about it. Now, our self-powered oxygen machine did die at one point because there was hydrogen that just didn't get into it. So for some reason, it just kind of died on me, which was annoying, but I had to reset it, which wasn't impossible. And then I found this weird room where you could actually mutate one of your hatchlings. It was super strange. It was located really far away from the base, however, so it did take quite a lot of digging to actually get to, but I was super intrigued by it because I had never seen this before.
Collect species data 0 out of 5. I've discovered an experiment designed to analyze the evolutionary dynamics of critter mutation. What? Once it has gathered enough data, it could prove extremely useful for genetic manipulation. How the hell do I use this?
So in short, I had no idea whatsoever how to go about using this device. I checked out the anatomy poster to see if there was anything there from it, but there was nothing. I had no idea how to use this device. I'd never seen it before in any of my previous playthroughs of Oxygen Not Included, so I had no idea how it worked. So I resorted to the first thing that I knew how to do, trying to wrangle up some hatches. So I went back to the base and found some wild hatches just running around on the floor there. So I wrangled them up in hopes that I could actually bring them back to this mutator device. Whether or not it would work, however, was a different story, and I had no idea how to do it. I also incubated another smooth hatchling egg. I wanted to get as many of these guys as I possibly could. Obviously, more refined metal meant more building and more progression towards the end game. I also had the statues decorated and carved, and these guys looked a lot better than what they were. We also were able to re-roll what they were carved into, so if we wanted a certain design or something like that, we could. But these guys provided a massive buff to the decor. I got back to the ranching critter machine mutator thing, and I had no idea what it was doing. The wrangled hatch was still chilling up there, and I just could not get this device to work whatsoever. I honestly had no idea how to get it to work. I also found a vending machine further south, and the salt biome also was located down here. However, unfortunately, we had come to the day 100 of our cycle system, so this 100-day series was coming to a close. However, the mysteries of the critter mutator still remained unviable to me. So guys, if you want to see more of Oxygen Not Included and want to see a 200-day series, let me know down in the comments down below. This did take quite a while to record. Let me know if you want to see more like this. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next one.